Welcome to today's author. Today we are being joined by Paula Harris, who is an author in a new book called Life Lessons in Success. Paula, welcome to the program.
Kevin, thrilled to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
I guess first off, when did you seek out the services of a Mr. Jack Canfield, and how is he instrumental in this particular project?
Absolutely. So in 2018, my husband Bill and I decided to go to what's called Breakthrough to Success. It's a 5-day program that Jack Canfield offers. It was in Scottsdale, Arizona. I signed up like a year in advance because I just wanted that structure to continue to help me become a better version of myself. And how I was very fortunate. Some friends, our friends Deb and Steve, gave us a copy of Success Principles for Christmas a couple of years before. And I read it and was like, this book is awesome. And so I sought out Jack so I could spend some time learning from him, the master, ourselves.
So what was it? This was a journey that happened in 2019. Is that correct?
So the first program I went to was Breakthrough to Success, loved it, and realized these success principles need to be out in the world. More people, if they understood simple things like E plus R equals O, an event happens, we can't control the event, we can control our response, which then affects the outcome. So it was like, wow, these are simple things that if more people knew it, they could live a much more life that could bring more fulfillment to them. So while I was at that 5-day program, they talked about being trained as a Canfield methodology trainer. So I decided to sign up, and I did 14 days of live training with Jack and a team in California during the year 2019. So it was in two segments, first 7 days in Long Beach and then 7 days in Palm Springs. And there were 60 of us that were part of the training group, training and trainers.
Does it matter what one's definition of success is when it comes to embarking on a training like this?
Interesting. I think success is a very individual decision. I mean, for some people, getting out of bed is a success. I hope that, for their whole life, that isn't the total ambition. But for someone who maybe has a lot of illnesses, just getting up and getting dressed may be. But for most of us, having bigger goals, bigger visions, having a mission for our lives, I think helps us get more out of life as opposed to just coasting through day after day, doing the same thing. You need to have some breakthrough goals that help take you to the next level. And being a part of this book project was kind of one of those breakthrough goals for me.
So I would ask you is that anybody that you've had a chance to talk to that deems themselves successful, do you hear them say that I was able to gain this on their own, or is that not always, that's not the truth?
Another good question. Some people, I've tended to be a rugged individualist. Yeah, people can do things on their own, but when I think true success happens for more people, they have leveraged the advice of others. They've included other people in their projects, in their success. And actually, sort of a side book project, not book project, but a book I just read recently by Dan Sullivan. He has a book, Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, called Who, Not How. So we tend to think about all the time, how am I going to get this done? What am I going to do? How am I going to make this happen? But when you start to think about who can I surround myself to help make this happen, it changes everything. You don't no longer have to be the only one to get it done to reach that success. Bring the right people in and success will happen. A greater chance of success will happen.
And Jack Canfield is an individual who is he's world renowned. He's a number one New York bestselling Times author.
Yep.
And so as a part of this project, you got to write a chapter in this new book, correct?
This is true. And Jack very nicely wrote the foreword for the book for us. And we actually had a virtual launch party on Sunday the 21st, the date 321. And Jack showed up and gave us congratulations, because we are, the group are all Canfield methodology trainers that got together to write this book.
So what was it like for you to, while you're involved in this as an author, you're writing it. What was the process like for you to write, about your own success?
So I'll just back up. When we were finishing our training, like, you're on a high. You want to take this material to the world, and somebody came up with the idea: what if we together put our stories together and created a book? So a woman, Angie, took the lead on that, and people put their hands up. 36 of us in the end stuck with it. A few people dropped out along the way because it's a big commitment. When you're writing a book as a team, we decided that we would do a lot of the roles ourselves rather than paying someone to do it all. We did have a publisher that helped us and guide us, but each person had to contribute to the team in some way. So there was a team of editors, there were a team of people who did the layout team. I was on the marketing team. I'm on the social media side of things. So, we had deadlines we had to meet. We had to come up with a theme for our chapter, and then everybody did their own theme, and then the team had to weave it together to make it a sort of a build in a coherent, I won't say it's a full story, but things build throughout so that the principles kind of shine.
So then that lets me ask, what was your theme?
Yes. My theme was, when the student is ready, the teachers appear. So I have tended to be a bit of a individual, rugged, do-it-myself type person. I take a lot on my own shoulders, and I am learning how to bring more who's in my life. So I talked about, there's a couple of themes in my story. I talked about actually having attended a Tony Robbins program, which was life-changing for me. It was his Date with Destiny program. And I had gone to that in the December of 2013. And I got the opportunity to go up on stage with Tony, which was a pretty cool situation to have happen. My number was picked. And Kevin, we've known each other for a while. You may have noticed I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. And I believe I'm going to be lucky. So when we got these little ping pong balls at the beginning of the check-in process, I just rubbed it, wrote my name on it as we were told. And I said, I will win. I will win. So Tony runs this, it's called the wheel. They bring out this wheel. It's like a prize wheel, and they get the audience ramped up. It's to keep the energy up. And so he pulls a ping pong ball out, and he says, team number, and he calls some other team. It wasn't mine, and a name. Well, that person doesn't show up. They're not in the room yet, which, like, that's bad. You're not there when Tony's there. You just lost. So he crushes it up. Next thing you know, he says, team 24. I'm like, that's my team. And I said, it's going to be me. It's going to be me. And then he yells out, Paula Harris. I was like, that's me. So I go running up on stage, and Tony, they make you do a bunch of quizzes and different things, but it started off dancing. And I got the crowd really riled up and really excited. And I played along. I played full out. Tony asked you to play full out. I played full out. So he asked me what I wanted to win. I said I wanted to win Life and Wealth Mastery. No idea what it was. Had never been to a Tony program. I didn't win that, but I won a ticket to a program called Unleash the Power Within. So that was exciting. I leave the stage, and I'm meeting everybody. I'm meeting so many people there. It's really exciting. But if I realized two things happened. One, 2 days later, there's a woman at my seat waiting for me, and she says, "Hi, I'm here from the Platinum Partner Desk. And this is a group of people who pay somewhere between 75 and like 100,000 to be in Tony's inner circle for the year. One of our plats, he saw you on stage, and he saw that you didn't win what you wanted to win, and he's anonymously gifting it to you." So I got gifted this 9-day program, Life and Wealth Mastery. It was like, wow. So opening up, being vulnerable, allowed people into my life. The other big story is I got there before the program even started. I meet a chiropractor from Plymouth, Mass. Like, we're in Palm Springs, and I meet this chiropractor, and I said, from the Duxbury area. And he said, what? When you go home, you go make an appointment with Dr. Katina Manning. She's a chiropractor. She will change your life. So I'm feeling divinely guided at this point. I went home, made that appointment on December 23rd of 2013. She's still in my life, and she continues to help me transform my life. Big issue that I was dealing with at the time was I was overweight. And I was frustrated and I didn't know how to get that weight off. And she helped me through a bunch of ways to do that. So I was ready to make change happen. I had gone to Tony Robbins. I listened to this guy that I had never met before, and I followed the leads and brought these mentors into my life. And I'm a different person today than I was back in 2013.
You're just tuning in to the program. We are speaking with Paula Harris. We know her. We've chatted with her about WH Cornerstone Investment and being smart, being financial preparedness. But this is a different conversation, talking with Paula Harris, the author, as she's part of a newly released book called Life Lessons in Success. And she's giving us kind of a little inside peek to this particular book. Make sure you stay tuned, and we'll give you, as she is showing that she has a copy of the book that I believe that you can get on Amazon. But again, we'll give you those details in just a few moments. Going back to what you had just described, do you yourself feel that life puts certain people in our paths, whether it's for the best reasons or to test us?
Another good question. I definitely believe that people are put into our lives for a reason. And it is our job to be awake enough to see why they're there. And yeah, this is kind of a side story, but yesterday I was talking to my husband about a high school friend. She texted me this morning, kind of out of the blue. The sad news was she was texting me to tell me that her mom had just passed away. And the reason she reached out to me right at that moment was she was going through her mother's purse, and there was a Valentine's Day card from me in her mother's purse. It was like, okay, if that's not supposed to happen at that moment, her mom just died 3 days ago, to connect us back, to do all that. I didn't have to pick up the phone and call her, but I did. And we spent the next half hour just telling beautiful stories. We were meant to be there right at that moment. And then there's the warning signs. Like I'm getting better at reading people's energies. Like there's someone in your life that causes a lot of chaos, and you need to back away. You don't want to be drawn to the moth on that one, because they're going to just suck you into something that may not be good for you. So they may redirect you. If you listen and pay attention, you can get redirected to where you're supposed to be going, as opposed to that's a growing up. Remember the danger, Will Robinson, danger. That's a danger sign. Like there's definitely those people. And again, we have to be awake enough to pay attention to the inner signs that we feel, the stomach's tightening, the breath shortening, like, yeah, maybe that's not good. Or that's just like there's really good excitement and you just feel that good energy. So yeah, there are people brought to us for all different types of reasons.
Interesting. The sci-fi fan in me always loved watching Lost in Space, not only the older version, but they have a newer version. And of course, you're referencing the robot on Lost in Space. Very well done. Talking about some of the folks, besides yourself, you had 30 plus writers who joined you on this adventure. Were all these people local people? Were they just from the United States, or was it beyond?
Oh, it's an international group. A couple from India, one from Estonia, from the UK, lots from the US. Let's see, Barcelona. One of the women has now moved to Mexico. So we are all over the world. And that's another really interesting part, is because one, you realize we're all human beings. We all have the same struggles and issues, and no matter where we live. So, I'm big on this. These days we're dividing ourselves rather than trying to find the commonalities. There's a lot of commonalities from people everywhere. We're all human beings. And it's really neat to get those different perspectives on how people see things throughout the world. I mean, it's been so much fun to get to know people in India. I mean, they live similar, but also very different from us. And just absolutely fascinating to learn the different stories and how people, their cultures affect, how they live their lives.
Have you had yourself a chance to sit down and peruse the book and see some of the stories? Did you have a chance to be as part of the editorial team to see it as it was coming together? And what's some of the things that you picked out that you feel that our viewers, our listeners are going to enjoy if they pick this book up?
Yep. I was not on the editorial team, and I'll be honest, I am not a fan of reading things, on the computer. So my book has come in. I have read probably about 10 chapters now, and it's all types of things. A lot of it, how do you heal relationships and move forward? One of the women, her parents came home and declared that we no longer going to celebrate Christmas when she's 12 years old. Oh, by the way, we're no longer going to celebrate any holidays. They actually chose to bring their children into a cult, a religious cult. How she lived her life and broke out from there. Another woman's story, how she graduated at the age of 15 from high school, went on to college, how she lived in 4 different countries by the time she was 4. Like, amazing how she adapted through life. How people have healed relationships with dying siblings. How people have always used positivity to get them through all the hardships in their life. How people have just buckled down and say they know that they need to set a goal, and like when they put their mind to it, they can make things happen. I don't even have enough money to make the mortgage, and I just pick up the phone and I dial for clients, and oh my gosh, I made $16,000. People's stories are all over the place, but I think every reader will resonate with so many of them. We're all human beings. We all have aspects of ups and downs in our life. And a book like this really speaks to us in different ways. And it's the type of book that you could pick up again in a year and it will speak to you in other ways, which is really kind of powerful.
So what is it like to know that you and your husband have a commonality when it comes to being authors? Did you go to him when you were planning to write your chapter and get his take on it?
Interesting. Despite that we worked together, lived together, we both did these projects very separately. So I did not really involve him, and he wrote his book, and he did that on his own. So we're kind of coming together as being authors in the same household from different ways, but it's a really neat feeling. And the other part that's really cool is how much people really appreciate that you took the time to do this. And it's a labor of love to put a book into the world. The other thing, which this was a big deal, Kevin, with the 36 authors, we all opened our hearts. Like Bill's book is a little more technical, but we opened our hearts and shared our vulnerabilities. And that's a big deal. And you put that out literally into the world. I mean, this is going to be read in all corners of the world. And people now know things about you that you may not have shared so publicly. So that's a very interesting feeling. It's a little weird to be kind of so public and vulnerable because you don't know how people will take it. And you hope, actually I led an invocation as we did the kickoff the other day. And we basically asked for protection, that this book was put out in love to help and serve others, that it be received in that way so that we would all be protected with our stories.
What is that like to bring your guard down and to be vulnerable to a greater number of people? Some people who may know you, people who may not. What kind of a feeling is that?
It's definitely one when you kind of like take a deep breath, breathe. I started the invocation off. Okay, we're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to take a deep breath out. I have a lot of faith in my life and trust in God. So for me, it makes that easier because I know He's got my back and that I'll be protected. But you got to believe that good will come. And you've got to believe that you put it out in a form of goodness and love, that will come back to you. And if people have issues, that's going to be their issue and their problem. I mean, it's just sort of like, trolling through social media. You're always going to find the haters. Tom Brady said the haters are going to hate, or I think it was him who said it, but whoever said it, you just can't live your life so protected. Like, they talk a lot about the seed falls on the ground. If that seed doesn't break open, it dies. It never happens. No life comes from it. You've got to crack open the seed of your your hardness in order to have like rebirth in life and to be able to go on and do other things. So I'm going to trust and hope that it's well received.
We are joined by Paula Harris. She is one of 36 authors in a new book called Life Lessons in Success. I love asking this particular question to any author. What is it like to see your words in a book?
It is really cool. And this book, I mean, it's a real book. It's got like a nice glossy cover. The paper feels good. Yeah, like the paper feels good. Like it's it's like a book. It's real. And like to know, one of the women, I'm in a mastermind group with 5 women, and one of them said, we will be together in this book forever. Like we are linked. I'm linked to these 36 people in a really special way. And it's like, that's really powerful. Like that's out there forever. You know what I mean? It could be picked up in 100 years. So like, wow, to know that you're in some way, your legacy lives on. It's awe-inspiring.
Are there any individuals in the book that you are regularly communicating with and have forged probably a friendship for the remainder of your days?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say more than half of the book, I am in regular contact, weekly, if not monthly. And then everyone in the book, I have a real personal relationship with. I mean, when you go through a Canfield program, and I mean, the amount of stories, I mean, we were working, good 10 hours a day together. You heard very deep stories about people's lives. I am hugely connected to the people in this book, and will forever be because of this and because of our training. And I feel very blessed by it. One of the guys in the book is from India. He wants to transform the lives of 1 million Indians, people in India, and like that's a huge goal. I mean, there's a lot of people in India, but that he's on it. He's going to make it happen. He's so inspirational. So it's really powerful.
If you were to give advice to anybody who would want to embark on writing a book, what would you like to share in at least being a part of your first book?
Yep. Well, if it's a co-authored book, because a couple of people have asked me lately, patience. You need a lot of patience because everybody operates at different speeds, despite the fact that you have common goals. You have to sort of push and nudge a little. I think also, the discipline of writing. So I have a friend who's writing a book right now that's going to be just him. You've got to write every day. Even if you end up putting one word on the page, you have to have a set time and discipline to do it. And that the discipline is everything. And you have to have your quiet space where you do your best work. There's a guy, Donald Miller, who's written a bunch of books. I mean, he's built a little shed. I mean, I'm sure it's more than a little shed, but in his yard, which is his writing studio, and he chooses not to have windows. You got to be disciplined every day. And you will also probably throw away many versions of what you write, but that's okay. It's just going to get you to that higher level, that deeper, clearer thinking. So don't be afraid of throwing away things. So those are my couple of pieces of advice: patience, discipline.
I know this is a new project. You have reached the end of the road. There is a finished product. And maybe it's a little soon to ask you this. Has this inspired you to consider writing something either on your own or with a smaller team?
Very good. It's interesting. My mastermind group met yesterday, and we asked each other, so does this make you want to do another book? And we all raised our hand. Yeah, I do. I'm actually working on a book right now. It's a widow's journal, and it is set to help a widow through the grief journey. And it's pretty close to being done. So I'm really excited for that to come out. It will be 10 chapters with prompts of quotes to help get a widow to write through her journey. Because I think we find writing helps people get it out of your head and get it onto the page so that you can let it move through your heart in another way. So that's definitely one. And then I would like to do one more business oriented. We work a lot with widows. So I want to write a book that gets people prepared if the curveball hits their life. Have you been active in your financial life so that you're coming from it from a place of knowledge and rather than fear and ignorance. And I just want women, too many curveballs hit people's lives. Be prepared. And so that's another one that I started a few years ago, and I need to dust off and finish.
We just have a couple of minutes left here. Anything that I haven't asked you in regards to this book, Life Lessons in Success, and do you want to give out information on how folks can purchase this book?
Sure. No, I think the book, it's just a delightful way to get small chunks of inspiration to help on your own life journey. So the book can be found on Amazon.com. It also can be found on our website, whcornerstone.com, and it is on our blog page, Life Lessons in Success, as well as Bill's book, which is very different than this title, Inheriting Your Spouse's IRA, can be found there too. So I would say, I think reading is one of the greatest things we can do to open our minds. Reading and travel, great way to just expose ourselves to new ideas, new cultures, and I encourage people to do more of it. Just keep learning. If you're not learning and growing, you're dying. And I do believe that. And you can be at any age and still be learning. I had a friend, George, who passed away a few years ago, but at 94, he was writing his memoirs. Like, he wanted that out in the world. And that's awesome. He was trying to self-publish it on Amazon and trying to learn how to do that, which was not easy for a 94-year-old.
Well, Paula, we want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Again, we've been joined by Paula Harris, author, one of 36 authors in a book called Life Lessons in Success. We want to thank you for tuning in to our program today, and I hope that you'll tune in to many more in the future.